Hi everyone, welcome to part 3 of Area of Polygons. Today we're going to be looking at rectangles and triangles again, but this time instead of finding area, we're actually going to work backwards and use area to find either our base or our height of our shapes. So this is a little bit different to what we're used to working backwards. So what I've done is I've broken down every single one of my steps so it's a lot easier for you to follow and also for you to know what exactly you have to write on a question in order to get every single point during a quiz, a test, or even a big exam. All right, so we're going to start off with rectangles. So working backwards with rectangles, as you'll see in a second, is actually a little bit easier than working backwards with triangles because, as you probably already know, the equation is a lot more simpler. It is simply area is equal to base times height. All right, so let's throw in some numbers here so we can actually do an example. So we have an area of 16.9 centimeters squared. Again, the unit is squared because we are working with area, which is a two-dimensional measurement, right? And now we are given our base, 6.5 centimeters, but we're not given our height. So that's what we're actually going to be looking for, right? So the first step is write your equation. That's always going to be your first step. You can literally get free marks by writing that equation. If you don't, and you get the answer wrong, you didn't show your steps, then you risk not getting marks, right? So let's write it out. Area is equal to base times height, or B times H, right? Step 2 is plug in your numbers, meaning take the numbers that I gave you and put them in your formula. So simply 16.9 centimeters squared is equal to 6.5 centimeters times H. All right, this simple enough. Write the formula, write your equation, plug in your numbers into that equation. Now step 3 is where it is very, very important. So listen extra carefully here. All right, so this is what we had on the left. I've just rewritten it here. Now I want to remind you that what we need to find is our H. That's our unknown. It's unknown because we don't know what it is essentially. All right, so that's what we need to isolate, meaning let's get rid of this 6.5 centimeters. It's in the way. We just want the H by itself. All right, so let's get rid of that 6.5 centimeters. Now you'll notice that it's multiplied here. And what you have to do to get rid of this is do the direct opposite operation of multiplication. So right now, the gears in your head should be turning, and you should realize that the opposite operation of multiplication is division. So to get rid of it, we're going to divide by 6.5 centimeters. And what that does is that they cancel out, and that gives us 1. So it's essentially 1 times H, right? Or 1H, or just H. It's the same thing. And now remember, when you do this, when you modify your equation, you are totally allowed to do this. However, the rule that you need to follow is whatever you do to this side, you have to balance it by doing it to this side too. So what we have to do is divide on the left side 16.9 centimeters squared by 6.5 centimeters. All right, and all you have to do for step 4 is actually write your answer, because here all you have left is H, right? We isolated, that was the whole point of step 3. And now you take these two numbers and divide. So simply put, your answer is 2.6 centimeters is equal to your height. Okay, so please, if you have to, re-watch this section, especially when we get to step 3, so you understand what you have to do. All right, let's move on to working backwards with triangles. So as I said, this one's a little bit harder because our equation is a little bit more complex. Not by much, but it is a little bit. So we'll take it a little bit slower for this one. All right, so let's actually use some numbers here for example. So we are given an area of 379.08 kilometers squared, and we are given this time the height, which is 24.3 kilometers, but we're looking for a base. Now, I didn't say this before in the opposite in the other question, working backwards with rectangles. But had we been given the height and not the base, like this is the case here, it would have been the exact same math. So I flipped it here so I could prove to you that our steps are pretty much the same way. Again, because it's a triangle, it's a little bit more complex of an equation. So it is going to be one extra step as opposed to rectangles, but the math is the exact same thing. All right. So let's start off with step one. Write your equation. Don't forget that the equation for a triangle is simply base times height divided by 2. All right, to find the area. And simply the division by 2 is because, well, a triangle is a rectangle that you divide into 2 equal parts. And that's where that formula comes from. All right, so next step, you're going to plug in your numbers. So you have 379.08 is equal to B times 24.3 divided by 2. All right, so again, take the time, write this all out. You have automatically some points now, because you've correctly identified which equation to use, and you've correctly identified what pieces go in which part of your equation, meaning you haven't mistaken the height for the base, flip some things around, you wrote the area in the place of the base, for example. The teacher knows you know what you're doing. Okay, so let's start off with the more difficult part now. Step 3A. Now the reason why I've broken step 3 into 2 parts is because, like I said, we have to take into account that there's a division here. That's the extra step that we need to factor in when we isolate our unknown, which in this case is our base, letter B. So again, here we are. We want to get rid of everything else. So we need to get rid of this 24.3, and we need to get rid of the 2 over here so that we're left with B alone. All right, so our first thing that we're going to do is actually get rid of this 2. And because it's divided by 2, right, again, you do the opposite operation of division. So the opposite operation is multiplication, and that's why we have a times 2, because these 2 now will cancel each other out. It'll give us 1, right? And again, if I multiply this side by 2, I'm allowed to do that as long as I come to this side and do the exact same thing. So I'm going to multiply my area by 2 as well. All right? So step 3B, again, we need to isolate it because we haven't gotten rid of this. So this is what I'm left with when I actually multiply. We get by 2, we get 758.16 kilometers squared. And now you see the 2 is gone, right? It just became a 1, and it just became B times 24.3 kilometers times 1, which gives us the same thing as 24.3. Anything multiplied by 1 gives us the same number that we had before. All right. So now again, we need to get rid of this little piece, this number here. And the way we get rid of it, well, since we are multiplying it, again, opposite operation to get rid of it. And you should know that the opposite of multiplication is, again, division, right? So we're going to be doing that to get rid of it. When we do that, they cancel out. It gives us 1, so we're left with 1b, which is what we wanted. We want to know what the length of that base, of one base, is. And again, whatever you do to this side, you have to do to this side. So let's divide that side, our left side, by 24.3. And what we're going to be left with, right, is our answer, because we're left with b alone. These are canceled out. And now this can be divided easily. And we're left with an answer of 31.2 kilometers is equal to our base. All right, guys, so this is a little bit weirder. I realize it's a little bit trickier, but it will be used a lot moving forward. And this is the basis for algebra. So if you're understanding this, you're in very good terms. All right. If you're having a little bit of difficulty with it, no problem. Rewatch this section, especially when we get to steps 3, right? Because that's the meat of the problem. Rewatch it, give it time, practice, 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 and you'll get through it. I know you can. Okay, so I'll see you in the Zoom call in a bit. See you later, guys. Bye.